Good afternoon and welcome to Innovative Startup Presentations, organized and moderated by Dr. Holger Bengs at BCNP Consultants and European Chemistry Partnering. Partnered with Chemspec Europe for a number of years, we're very glad to have extended this partnership into the digital space for this event. Dr. Holger Bengs, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Christiane. And also we at BCNP and the European Chemistry Partnering are very proud to have this partnership over a couple of years already. And now we have the next attempt, so to speak, the digitization. So I welcome everybody of you to our startup session, 1 hour startup session here at Chemspec Digital 2020. And I'm just the short introducer and will hand over to my partner. And afterwards, I will take over the 5 pitches again. We have really very interesting startups this afternoon. But first of all, we would like to present a new investment fund. And the best person to introduce you to this speaker is my colleague Tobias Kirchhoff, because he was also involved into the establishment of the European Circular Bioeconomy Fund. So a pleasure to hand over. Tobias, please.
Holger, thanks. Hi, my name is Tobias Kirchhoff and I'm a senior consultant at BCNP. And yeah, it's my pleasure now to welcome Dr. Michael Brandkamp from the European Circular Bioeconomy Fund. In his professional career, Michael was, among others, in positions of responsibility at the KfW and especially at the High-Tech Gründerfonds as managing director for almost 15 years. And as you might know, the HTGF is Germany's most active seed investor. And now he's general partner of the European Circular Bioeconomy Fund, in short ECBF, and the Circular Bioeconomy Fund is fully dedicated to the bioeconomy in Europe. And as Holger already said, I had the pleasure to support Michael and team a little bit in the setup, and very glad that now the fund started a couple of weeks ago, already did his two first investments. And yeah, looking forward now, Michael, to your impulse lecture about the transition to a sustainable chemistry. Michael, the virtual floor is yours.
Tobias, thank you for the friendly introduction. It's really a great pleasure and honor for me to share some insights about what we have done and what we are heading for with all of you. So thank you for having me, and I would like to share some ideas about innovation and about financing these kind of innovations, which is obviously demanding. As you all know, innovation comes in waves. According to Schumpeter, you know that disruptive innovation are responsible for this. We have seen the railway, the automotive, we have seen the electricity, you know, Siemens is actually part of it. So they are well-known drivers for innovation. The next thing was, of course, semiconductor or the digitalization. The smartphone has changed all our life. We think in the chemical industry, you have similar waves of innovation. Let me share a bit of it. Here, can you see the slide now? You cannot.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. I will. Here. Can you see that?
Yeah, now it's coming.
Okay. So now on this slide, if it is coming. So you know, on this slide you see the waves. Well, at the beginning of 1900, you know, the chemist industry, they took ingredients from the soil to produce colors out of it. And later, after around 1950, there was a great shift to petrochemical industry. And of course, that is still going on and still dominating the whole industry. And the processes are pretty well optimized and very efficient. But we think there's time for next wave. So the sustainable chemistry, the more circular-oriented and bio-based industry and chemical industry will coming up. This will be a very important transition for the whole economy, connected with a lot of innovation and, of course, connected with great business opportunities. And these opportunities are driven actually by three factors. The whole transformation process is pull from the market. The consumer have started to change their awareness and change their demand. So if you go to the supermarkets, you see that very clearly, more vegan products on the shelves, more sustainability, if it also comes to, and that will stay. And that's actually the most important driver for this transformation process. Second one is, of course, the great support by all public and private institutions. We all talk about the Green Deal, we talk about climate change, we talk about CO2 taxation. This was a great push for this transformation process. And in addition, I think we can be proud of a very world-class R&D here in Europe, contributing very great innovation. That's very significant. And I think that will be the beginning of a very large transformation process, which will speed up exponentially. So like a snowball or like a viral effect, you will see that there are small things are starting, and then you will have a transformation process which will increase rapidly. And that's very important to consider, because the acceleration is demanding for large companies. They're very innovative, they're very clever, but they're also limited in innovation speed. So if the speed of innovation is increasing, one day they cannot be fast enough. So that's why they have to look for external innovation, or they will die. And these external innovation are coming from startups or scale-ups. That's actually a very interesting story, which is very convincing, and we will see that in the future. And we now see the first signs for this. And if you look, there's still great challenges for these kind of scale-ups, because if you have great perspectives on the long term, but today these kind of companies, they have great financial problems because there's a high level of complexity. You usually have to look to feedstock, and in some areas you compete just with fossil-based resources, which are incredibly cheap. And you need to have your product in place, and in addition, the processes, which has to be tailor-made and developed in most of the cases. Well, so you look to production. You have to decide, can I outsource it, or I have to set my own plant, which is of course demanding as well. So you have to organize your company, the logistics. In many cases, you have really large tons to move, and it's really a company. So in comparison to software and other deep tech areas where you just focus on R&D and you don't have to have any kind of logistics. And we are confronted as well with an uncertainty regulatory framework. Look to carbon tax is still open. You have still a very uncertain market, because you don't know the speed of transformation. You don't know in which area the consumers will buy and will not. So that's a very high level of uncertainty, which of course makes it more difficult to sales successfully. And of course, because of this high level of complexity, you do not have all the expertise you need alongside the value chain to make a company really big. And at the end, of course, there's a lack of financing in this area as well. We think that especially this is a very important slide for the Chemspec Europe, because we compared a bit bio-based bulk chemicals, so the large ones with the performance biological, some specific or specialities in the chemical sector. And we think these kind of specialities are the first to move. And the large bulk chemicals will compete with fossil areas, and that's pretty demanding. So we think we will have small steps at the beginning in the performance biologicals, in the specialty chemical sector, where we have great higher value and not such a high level of price competition. And then we need to focus on scale up and to focus on how we can really make small stories to large stories. That's actually the story which is very important. Otherwise, we cannot really make a difference. So there are quite a number of seed funds like the Gründer Fund, which I was responsible for, or business angels, they're in place. They do seed investments, they do Series A. And now then, if it comes to really growing to the growth stage funding, it is demanding. And that's why we focused on European Circular Bioeconomy Fund. Whether it's Tobias and others, we set up this fund, and here are some key facts about it. We want to invest in 20 to 25 growth companies. So actually around 10 million to each one. We want to allocate 10 million to each of these companies. And these companies are located in Europe. Europe is the European Union and the so-called associated countries. That includes Norway, Switzerland, and countries like Turkey or Eastern Europe. The most important point in this market is actually expertise. So there's a lot, as you know, there's enough money in the market at all. So there's a liquidity more than needed, but it does not find the way to the right targets. And that's because we need to have somebody with expertise, really can do due diligence on a high level, and then invite other investors to follow. That's actually the role we want to play. The syndication with other investors, we want to help to set up the funding rounds, and then we can contribute more value add by acting with experts, with other partners. All the companies we look at need to have both. First of all, a clear alignment with the so-called environmental, social, and governance criteria. So that is a contribution to social SDGs. And on the other hand, very great business perspectives, because we need to bring high level of return to our investors. Otherwise, we cannot convince others to join this area. So we want to make sure that it's possible to make very high returns in this transition process to incentivize others. All the other things are pretty normal. We are just a venture capital fund, 10 years duration period. We are based in Luxembourg, and we have also a significant team commitment. So there's really skin in the game to make it successful. This is a team. We are already 10, but some are more part-time, like Rob Kirschbaum. He's a very experienced person from DSM. He has led the corporate business and corporate investment business for DSM for quite a while. And now he's free, and he is member of our investment advisory committee. Or on the right, you can see Peter Neuenhausen. He was CTO of AkzoNobel. Michael Nettersheim, he was BASF, with BASF, and did a lot of biotech or chemical investment around the globe. So it's a great team, but we are still growing. We are still too little people in comparison to the work which is coming. The investment scope is very important for maybe for this section today as well. We have 3 pillars we look. So one is agtech, food, and of course blue economy. So we want to bring new resources from the ocean actually to the data at the end. And the second one is packaging, construction materials, and this is connected to bio-based materials and forestry. Also, these kind of specific bio-based chemicals, which really will drive the sustainable chemistry, are also very important. All of them have to be bio-based, and if they contribute to circularity, it's also. And we have done already 2 investments, as Tobias said. This is the team of peer pioneers. They valorize waste streams from the Dutch supermarkets. So they collect orange peels to upscale them and to produce new food ingredients out of it. It's very significant because orange peels is very difficult waste. You cannot burn it because it will spoil your burning plant, or you cannot bring it to the bioreactors because they have antimicrobial features. So they have already built their first plant, and now they have raised 10 million to expand. The other one is a German company called Prolupin. They produce vegan yogurts, vegan ice cream, or vegan cheese out of the lupin, which is much better than soya. And it is becoming more and more important because you can grow it on the regional soil land, and it is very good for the soil. You can use the crops. This is a Fraunhofer spin-off, which is doing good, and you can go to the supermarkets to buy this kind of very tasty food. It's very trendy, and there's also some successful companies around, like Oatly. They just raised 200 million for valuation of 2 billion euros. So there's a lot going on in this area as well, and we think that we can transfer this to other areas like packaging or chemical industry way. You can do that with partners only. As you can see, we have great investors like PreZero, which is a recycling company, Hettich, which is a family office, and Corbion, which is a leading bioeconomy company from the Netherlands. We also connected with BBIU, Bio-Based Joint Undertaking, the European Forestry Institute, Submarine Networks, and all the others. And BCNP Consultant is also a very important partner to cooperate with because they know how to. It's just a question of execution. Well, thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free and invited to come along.
Yeah, Michael, thank you very much for that impulse lecture. And of course, I have definitely some questions, and we'll have a look if there will be another questions too. First of all, you show us about your investment guidelines, and what kind of startups should contact you, and which kind of stage should there be that they are really interesting for you? For example, regarding TRL.
Yeah, that's a very important question. We focus on scale-ups. So these are growth stage companies having at least a technology readiness level of 6. And we don't consider just the technology; it's also the business readiness level, which is important. So what I say is they need to have a product which is ready. They have at least an own production plant or partners who can produce it, and we have some customers we can ask, or they have offtake agreements signed. Then we can really see there's a great pull from the market, so the growth will be driven by customers.
Mm. What would be your best tips, your 3 best tips for startups before they're contacting you?
To make revenues and to make the product ready.
That was short, very short, but good question, good answer. Great. How should they contact you? For example, for the startups, but also people here now in the audience who have perhaps questions afterwards. What's the best way to contact you?
Directly, I can share my email, michael.brandkamp@ecbf.vc, which is, and then, we are very happy to get in contact with each of you. we are still looking for great investment opportunities, and we are preparing, of course. Some are in the due diligence already, but of course we are very interested to learn more about new companies coming up.
Okay, great. Good. As I see, no question here. Perhaps questions from the startups who will pitch afterwards. Are there any questions from them? You could write it directly in the chat.
Yeah, welcome.
So, not a problem. As you heard, Michael is very open to get in contact afterwards. And as I know, all the contact details should also be on the web page. So if you just Google for ECBF, you will find them. And so thank you very much again, Michael. It was really a pleasure to have you here, and we wish you really great success with the fund, because I think it will be a very, very important instrument to help to get good startups really into the market and over the valley of death, as we all know is unfortunately there in that kind of technology readiness levels. Thank you very much.
We know how it feels, because we are a startup by ourselves. So we set up everything from scratch right now, which was, of course, a very exciting experience during the last months. But thank you for having me here, and we are very open to connect.
Great.
Thanks.
Michael Brandkamp, thank you very much for your time, for the insights, and good luck for you in the future for the fund.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and with the end of the Impulse lecture, it's my pleasure now to hand over again to Holger. And Holger will then moderate our startup pitches, our 5 innovative startups. Holger, your turn.
I think he's on mute.
That's the beauty of live events.
Sorry, we had some problems here. Digital world. Yeah, thank you very much. I lost you a little bit 2 minutes ago, so I do not know which was the final question to Michael. But Michael, very, very interesting. And thank you very much for that introduction. Also that you have already done the first 2 investments is really quite, an optimistic way into the market of a European circular bioeconomy. Thanks for that. So we have 5 very interesting startups from very different disciplines, from chemistry, pharmaceuticals, the IT sector, and we will start with my dear friend Holger Geissler. He is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of ipOcean Global GmbH in Mainz. And he will introduce ipOcean, the trust network, and it's a fast, easy, and secure way to exchange ideas. Holger, the floor is yours.
Yes, hello everybody, and let me quickly introduce to you ipOcean. I hope you can see already my slides here. ipOcean is the inter-organizational marketplace for technology, knowledge, or any other type of intellectual property. You can use it on demand. It is protected exactly to your needs, and it's available online. And it's important to understand inter-organizational transfer of knowledge, technology, or any type of IP is really a key competitive advantage, because knowledge and all the stuff can be transitioned into solutions and innovations. That is driving success of company. In the end, you have more and more sustainable revenues at a lower cost, at a lower price in the end of the day. And what is here really the key hurdle, what we have to solve for this one? On the one hand side, you have to understand the supply and demand side, what is out there, what is needed. You have to understand really, and you have to ensure trust and security. It's one of the biggest issues in this area because it's an asset here. And on top of that, this interorganizational transfer can really be costly and also time consuming. And currently, we have a big issue with the Corona crisis. There are no exhibitions, limited travel, limited meetings. And one big question is Corona temporary? So the hurdle have even increased on this transfer. And our solution is pretty simple, an interorganizational marketplace. It is online, so everybody can join. It's a one-stop mall. It's free, protected, and freemium. So everybody can really participate. And the great thing is you can customize it exactly to your needs. And it's only 5 minutes to set it up. Here are strong application example. You can simply start with B2B marketplaces or online exhibitions where you have a protected way to present transfer data and information to your selected audience only. You can have, as a second example, protected interaction and communications to connect, collaborate, and contact in order to speed up your solutions and innovations together. Or you can simply use it for easy, confidential, and private data transfers, because we provide you with proof of ownership, proof of delivery, as well as agreements on the fly specific to the data you're transferring. And we will soon have a matching algorithm that is matching the supply with the demand side. And here you see we have solved the problem of supply and demand. And the next thing is a protection thing. ipOcean as a trust network is protected on each level, on the user level, the filing level, as well as the marketplace level. On the user level, we provide you with an ipOcean app for identification. And this is holding your identity, your private key, as well as the document keys. And in the end, you have a protection similar to an online banking standard. On the filing level, we are using the fingerprints of your documents to protect, as well as a virtual legal process we are providing. So the contracts are highly specific exactly to your protected documents. So you have these proof of ownership and proof of delivery. And on the last side, the marketplace side, we have a protection via the visibility and the membership in this marketplace, because it's your choice if you're opening it up as an open marketplace, a private one where people have to ask to get in, or really a closed one. Summing everything up, you're seeing we solve the protection levels, and the trust and security point is really solved in this network. A key thing here is we are GDPR compliant because we have a blockchain in the background. It's a big question we already have, but we are even GDPR compliant. And the last thing is the cost and the time. You can immediately come to our webpage, my.ipOcean.com. You can start within 5 minutes after registration. It's affordable because it's a freemium model. You do not need any investment. For do this, you don't have to upload any documents. You can immediately start. We are starting here for free because we are supporting the sustainable development goals. And so we have solved here also for the cost and time issue. And what you're seeing, we have strong traction, and we would love to welcome you all here as well. So we are a startup. We also have great investment. So this is a message to Mr. Brandkamp if he wants to invest in our company. So here is our struggle and our traction. We have a growing community. I would love to have a discussion with all of you on the superior level of protection, give you a demo. Here is a QR code, scan it, and you can get directly into my schedule. You can book a meeting with me, and we show you the level of protection, comparing it to all the other versions you can have available. We're doing the same thing for the benefits. And so I only can invite you, start on ipOcean, become part of ipOcean, because it's zero risk to start, because it's a freemium model. And the first month is for free on a premium level anyway. So please give us a call, and welcome you on ipOcean. If there's a question, shoot now, because I think we still have a couple of seconds to go.
Yeah, Holger, thank you very much for this introduction of ipOcean, and just in time. So hopefully a lot of new contacts through this presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker takes a long way from Latvia. It's our expert in data and statistics. And I think you are quite sure that in industry applications, you need a lot of statistics, management and know-how. And presenting is now Matthias Kaiser. He's the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Exponential Technologies Limited. Matthias, please.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for the introduction. I will get directly into it because material development, development of new chemical compositions and production parameters for the processing of such materials is an extremely difficult task. Researchers use different kind of methods for that. For example, one factor at the time or grid search, which is extremely inefficient and takes a lot of time and money to do. There are other methods like design of experiment, which are complicated, which require a high amount of statistical knowledge for the user, which means that large companies usually have like departments of the statisticians, which help the chemists or the biotechnologists with their everyday work. However, that's of course also expensive, and that makes the whole R&D process in companies time intensive and expensive. We have found a solution for this. We call it XT Smart DOE, and it's an AI-enabled design of experiment software. It is extremely flexible, it is extremely user-friendly, and it doesn't require any statistical knowledge or programming knowledge from the user, which makes it extremely efficient to use it. We have benchmarked our solution also against other AI algorithms, which are currently, especially in chemistry, very famous. This is Bayesian networks. And we could show in synthetic tests that our solution results in better optimized results, requires overall less samples than these algorithms, and is from a computational side much faster. So Bayesian networks require between iterations a couple of hours. We need a couple of seconds. To achieve that, we use a technology called active learning with our own designed novel AI algorithms. Basically, it's an iterative approach similar to design of experiment. So our software has, you set up your experiment, the things you can change on your machine or on your mixture. The software builds a model and gives suggestions. You try out the suggestions in real life, give feedback back to the software, so measurement results of your samples. The software adjusts its model and gives the next suggestions. And you do this usually between 3 and 5 iterations. Our current focus markets are additive manufacturing, biotechnologies, and the chemical industry. Here are some examples of things we have already done. With our partners at Evonik Industries, we have worked on developing new UV curing SLA resins. The task was to use 3 mixture components and 2 printer parameters of the SLA printer and basically find good results for the end part, so end part properties. We required only 25 samples to come to a good result, and we benchmarked our approach against the classical design of experiment plus statistician approach, which had very good results and led them to state that our solution is more user-friendly, more flexible, and more efficient than the standard approach. Another thing we did is optimization of growth factors and bioreactors. There we did a test together with the University of Latvia Institute of Microbiology and worked on optimizing bioreactor growth factors for the production of spike protein, of COVID-19 spike protein in E. coli bacteria. We could already, the samples were already pre-optimized, and we could still increase the protein yield by twice. Which was roughly 240 milligrams per liter, if you want to know the details. We also can solve, since last month's knapsack problems, which have huge application in pharmaceuticals, in cosmetics, and in personal care products. Our business model is for XT-Smart UE. It's a cloud service with a monthly or annual subscription fee, but we also have an edge computing device that brings XT-Smart UE to the premise of our customers. In our technology pipeline, currently there's XT-Smart UE, which has the goal of automating the R&D process, but this is not the end. This is for us just the beginning. Where we want to go is actually the full automation of the industrial manufacturing process, be it chemicals, be it biotech, be it additive manufacturing, or anything else. The idea behind this is basically to integrate the R&D process together with the manufacturing process and allow like this fully automated cycles of production and R&D. More information also on our booth here at Chemspec. This is the team which we will achieve that. There are co-founders, Pavel, me, and Geertz. Pavel is the actual inventor of our novel AI algorithms. And then we have a great team of mentors and advisors. Here, 2 examples. This is Eyal, he's a data scientist currently working for Babylon Health. And there is Reshmi, she's a world-class organic chemist and currently a senior researcher at Utrecht University. So thanks for your attention, and please come by our booth or get in contact with us, and let's start the 5th industrial revolution now. Thanks a lot.
Matthias, thank you very much. Your applause, and also in time, so everybody sticks to the 6 minutes. Just perfect. A lot of successes here at Chemspec Digital. So our next speaker, it's Tobias Gattner. He founded together with his professor the company ESy-Labs GmbH, and he is the Chief Executive Officer. And what's really very fascinating, and you can see it already, electrosynthesis to create new molecules, organic as well as inorganic ones. Tobias, please.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Thanks, Holger, for the introduction. My name is Tobias Gattner, speaking from Regensburg in Germany, and I'm going to present you today ESy-Labs. I'm CEO, and we are going to electrify synthesis, and therefore we are going to change the chemical game. As Holger already mentioned, we, together with Mr. Waldvogel, we founded ESy-Labs in the year 2018, and since then we are working already on bilateral cooperation projects with industry and on own research and development projects. Talking about electrification normally means that you're talking about e-mobility or smart grids and the generation of renewable energy, but actually only a few people are talking about electrifying chemical synthesis, and that's where we come in now. We follow the vision that it is possible to electrify also chemical synthesis, and for that reason we are aiming at the areas of food and fragrances, nutrition, healthcare, agrochemicals on the organic side, and or some fine chemicals production on the organic side. And on the inorganic side, we are working together with steel makers, zinc coaters, and waste incineration sites for the production of inorganic fine chemicals and specialties or metals for kind of urban mining. Last but not least, we are working together with producers of renewable energy to also build new business models for them. What are the advantages of our technology? With electrosynthesis, it's possible to perform an on-demand production of toxic and hazardous chemicals. By the substitution of oxidizers and reduction agents, it's also possible to avoid a lot of chemical waste. For example, one reaction which was already optimized is there it's possible to save up to 90% of additional chemicals for the conversion to the product. Interesting also for pharmaceutical industry. It's possible to do metal-free synthesis for, you don't need catalysts or so on. You can work with carbon electrodes, and therefore you avoid metal contamination in the product afterwards. The basis of the technology is the application of 2 electrodes in a chemical reaction mixture. By switching on the power supply, you initiate a chemical reaction, and by switching off the power supply, you stop the reaction immediately. And that's the last and big advantage of the technology. It's an inherent safe technology where you don't have to stop thermal breakthroughs in the reaction. You just stop the reaction by switching off the power supply. The integrated combination with biotechnology and also chemical catalysis lifts up the whole chemical conversion based on electrosynthesis onto the next level. Normally, we start on the gram or milligram scale to screen for electrode materials, for electrolyte compositions, for process parameters, and then we decide how to go further. Do we go further in a continuous electrosynthesis, or do we stay at a batch mode? And then it's possible to scale up the whole process within a short time frame up to the ton scale per year. Therefore, we offer consulting on how to introduce electrosynthesis on already existing processes. We offer R&D for new electrosynthesis to substitute or cut short classical chemical synthesis. And last but not least, we do already custom synthesis and licensing of organic as well as inorganic compounds. The final goal is to deliver plug-and-play licenses or demonstrators to our customers that it's possible to operate these plants on our customers' sites. To go a little bit more into detail, to give a short overview, our company is divided into 3 pillars. The first one is the easy organics pillar. Just a short overview of possible reactions. It's nitro reductions, Kolbe electrolysis, nitrile synthesis, conversion of biomass to pick up the introducing lecture. And all that we do together an integrated biotech and chemtech electrosynthesis. This is also true for the inorganics pillar. Here we also do an integrated approach. And we are based on inorganic feedstocks from waste streams. That's following our urban mining concept. And from that, we are producing inorganic salts, oxides, and metals. Our last pillar, in our last pillar, we sum up the component materials process and demonstrator development to really demonstrate the whole thing for our customer, and we do also operation on our customer sites. As I mentioned, we were founded in the year 2018. We plan to provide our breaks even by the end of 2020, by the end of this year. And we are moving over to our new site with lab facilities and demonstrator facilities. And yeah, already some customers got electrified by us, and now it's up to you to get electrified by ESy-Labs. Thanks for your attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this overview, and great that you made already such a great progress. So all the best for you at this fair, at this international fair.
Thanks a lot.
So our next speaker is Niels Brauer. He is Key Account Manager with Packwise GmbH. And it's all about to simplify supply chains and container management. So next speaker, Niels Brauer. If you switch your camera on, would be nice.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. So thank you, Mr. Bengs, for the opportunity to introduce our Packwise solution to the audience. Today, I'm going to talk about our Packwise device and also the Packwise flow application. It's 2 things we developed to change fundamentally the usage of packaging, especially from the IBCs. So a common problem is that currently there is a lot of IBCs in use, and Future Market Insights, there's they pronounced that it would be even more IBCs by 2029, even the number would be doubled. So it's getting more difficult to kind of track all these IBCs, to know what is inside them, where are they being reused, because the potential of being reused are by 25 times. So there's a lot of problems in the world by now, especially here. And we tried to kind of solve them with one device. The device we're introducing is able to do 5 things. We can measure fill level, we can measure location, we can measure the shock and the movement of the IBCs, and we can measure the temperatures. The good thing about it is everything is measured always, but especially the shock and the temperature can be kind of set with a trigger alarm, so that the owner of the IBC can get an alarm if something is kind of damaged, or if something is moved really quickly, or if the temperature is kind of rising or decreasing too fast. So how does our device look like? It's a small, I would say 20 centimeters to 5 centimeters device. And there's a small bottom plate at the bottom side, and there's an adhesive tape on it. So you can basically always take the device out of the bottom plate, or keep it in the bottom plate and kind of glue it on the container. You can see it in the middle here on this picture. So the pairing of the device with the container is quite fast. It takes about 10 seconds. And it's a retrofit solution. So you can kind of add it to every intermediate bulk container you have by the moment. And we're now concentrating on IBCs, but there is a lot of possibility to kind of increase it or kind of use it in other container types as well. After connecting the container with our smart cap, we're going to bring all the data, like I said before, our 5 things we're measuring: the filament level, the temperature, the movement, shock, and the location, to our system, the Packwise Flow. Packwise Flow looks looks like this here. So we got a list of containers that are kind of displayed. The user always has the possibility to enter the Packwise Flow over a cloud-based web application. So there's no need to install anything, or it's easy to use and it's quite straightforward. And something we can use here is we can kind of filter containers in groups, especially, for example, to predefine groups. And so the customers can already kind of set groups at certain locations, certain types of products. And our goal is to kind of track these products, and finally to give our customers visibility about the containers and their products. In addition, we got a multi-level role system. So you can also have various roles for your own company and possible customers you're working with. And obviously, we got an event-based notification. So the platform is automatically informing you about filament levels that are decreasing really fast, or containers that are empty, containers that are full, containers that have this shock happening or have a certain temperature getting below or above certain level. This is a small picture of our Packwise Smart Cap. And our main goal, like I said, is always to let our customers, or let them be connected to their own products, and also to give us an additional opportunity for them to get in contact with their customers. So the possibilities we have due to the tracking of the filaments, or also the locations, we can guarantee improved route and fleet warehouse management. So it's easier for companies to plan the routes beforehand, and not just kind of making common routes. On top of that, we have the opportunity to do new business models, keep closer relationships due to the forecasting, for example, of filament level, And also, this is an opportunity to have optimized production planning, since after a certain time you can already see when certain product will be used and when it's empty. And also, like I had on the first slide, we have the opportunity to kind of reduce your fleet, your overall fleet. So the problem we had of kind of trying to manage all these IBCs resulted in something that we kind of need less IBCs to kind of fulfill the tasks we have. So yeah, I'll make it short. So this is our Packwise Smart Cap, and we would be glad to introduce it to the audience and give you some more details about it. If you're interested, please get in contact with us. We would be glad to get even more in detail and kind of discuss over individual use cases here. Thank you.
Niels, thank you very much for this overview, and yeah, all the best for you during these 2 digital days.
Yeah, thank you.
In the internet. Thanks a lot. So, and we are finally at the end. It's number 5 who's waiting for us, and our speaker is now Moritz Voelker-Albert. He co-founded EpiQMAx, you see it already, and he is the Chief Executive Officer. And it's all about the discovery of diagnostic biomarkers in the field of epigenetics. So please, Moritz.
Thank you very much, Holger, for this kind introduction. I hope you can all hear me. And so it's a real pleasure to present to you today our EpiQMAx story. And I also like to thank the organizers for giving us the opportunity to present to you today what we have achieved so far. In order to explain to you what we really do, I would actually like to invite you, or I would like to offer you a journey along the street, because I think nobody from us had to travel today to an on-site event. And I thought, let's have somehow the feeling of a bit of travel today. And for all of those that would like to go with me along the street and do this journey, I would actually advise or recommend very much to pay attention to the street signals, because the street signals actually give us an instruction or a manual how to use the street, when to go faster, when to go slower. And hopefully, and this is something that we probably all have to admit, if we pay attention to the street signals, we avoid many accidents. So exactly the same mechanism that I just described to you on the instruction how to use something is happening in every cell of our body, and it's called epigenetics. So in analogy to the street, we have the DNA molecule that needs to fit into each cell nucleus of our cells. And this molecule, the DNA, can be further modified with so-called epigenetic modifications that are depicted here in orange, black, and green. Very similar to the street signals. So the cell understands according to these signals when and how to use the genetic information properly. So in comparison or in contrast to street signals, these modifications are dynamic, which means they can adjust to the environment, such as the food intake, the sports, or even the stresses that we are exposed to. And on the other side, those epigenetic modifications are actually very much impacting on diseases such as diabetes, arteriosclerosis, or even cancer. So let me quickly switch on my camera, because I think you don't see me, right? So there we are, sorry. And what this means is that the discipline of epigenetics is truly personalized, because it adjusts to our lifestyle and the environment. And it's also linking then the environment to the disease status that we have. So bottom line here is we need to have a technology that is very robust and standardized to read epigenetics in order to use this for diagnostic purposes. And this is what EpiQMAx has established. It's a platform technology that is able to read epigenetic modifications. We can actually extract these epigenetic modifications out of a number of samples, such as cells, tissue, blood, and saliva. We can then apply this to a so-called mass spectrometer that overall reduces the costs and is a very sensitive approach compared to existing technologies. And finally, we then analyze those data and visualize them, and we report this to our customers. And our customers currently are the pharmaceutical industry, the chemical industry, and as well also academic research institutions that are researching on epigenetics overall. As a proof of concept, we were able to, for example, analyze epigenetic modifications from blood. And here we have actually looked at histones, so the molecules that get modified from plasma, and we found epigenetic modifications. Every block symbolizes an epigenetic modification, and we were not only able to identify them, but also quantify them, which gives us some tools in hand to work on an early cancer detection biomarker based on epigenetic modifications, in this case for colorectal cancer, for example. Whereas on the other side, we looked in cells in which we find also epigenetic modifications increase in old people versus middle and young people for a number of epigenetic modifications, also stating that here we can actually work on a biomarker. And this is not only true for biomarker, but also for drug development purposes or other purposes, because epigenetics is just a general mechanism in all our cells. So far, we have achieved this entire platform, and now we are ready to automatize our workflows for sample preparation and combine it with artificial intelligence to really find signatures that give us hints to apply this entire platform then from 2023 on in the clinical market. So the team that has achieved it so far is composed of Victor as a bioinformatician, Axel as a scientific advisor, and me managing the company. We have a good customer base in Europe at the moment and very strong partnerships in Munich and surroundings. We enlarged our team recently, and we are very much advised by good advisors. So my mission today was to fascinate you about epigenetics for personalized medicine, to hopefully in future discuss with you about potential collaborations in the realm of epigenetics. And then if you wish, or if you're interested, we're very happy to join us on our endeavor as investor. So I hope you could enjoy a little bit the journey along the street. You understood what epigenetics means, and thanks for your attention, and happy to take any question.
Moritz, thank you very much for this inspiring street, so to speak, this journey through your company. Thanks a lot. And so we are just in time at the very end of our session in the digital world of Chemspec Digital 2020. And we learned a lot about 5 interesting startups. We saw what the new European Circular Bioeconomy Fund, not that easy, will do or has done already, but will do in the future regarding a circular economy. And also thanks to my colleague, Tobias Kirchhoff, and to the organizers of Chemspec Digital. Enjoy this day and the next day. We see us in the digital world, and then hopefully in the next month in the real world. Thanks a lot for being with us. Stay healthy and keep being successful.
Very much. That was very nice.
Thank
very
you.
interesting. Great.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.